Okay, class, it's Professor Streeter, and I'm going to take you through a brief explanation of the midterm exam. I've got a PowerPoint slide here, and let's start it, and we'll go through it together. Okay, first thing is the exam will be due on Thursday, April 2nd, and you'll need to submit that to the D2L assignment folder by noon. And I'll show you how to do that later in the video. Okay, next slide. There are two parts to the exam, and the first part, part A, is short answer questions, and that's worth 10 points. Part B is an essay, and that's also worth 10 points, so they're weighted equally. I'm asking you to choose 10 questions out of 21. There's 21 questions, but you only choose 10 in part A, and write a complete paragraph response to each one. So that's 10 paragraphs. In the paragraph, make sure to give evidence for your view by citing the page number or giving a quote with a page reference. There are two sections in part A. One section is questions from ethical life, and the other section is questions from the fundamentals of ethics. And you have to answer questions from both. You can't skip a section. Let's go to the first section, A1, and this has just a few questions from the ethical life. The first one I'll read out loud. What does Aquinas mean by natural law? How does Aquinas respond to the objection that it would seem that there is no natural law in us? That's a quote from page 86. How does he respond to that objection? In other words, what is one of his replies to that objection? Explain that in your own words. So that's the first question in section A1. Again, you can't skip this section, but you can choose which questions you want to answer. You have to answer 10 overall from part A. So you can see these are the other three questions in this first section from the ethical life, 2 on Kant and 1 on Hobbes. Let's move then to section 2, A2. These are questions from the fundamentals of ethics written by Shafer-Landau. I'll read question 6 out loud. The natural law theory depends on a clear understanding of what we mean by human nature. What are the different conceptions of human nature that Shafer-Landau considers, and what is the concept of human nature that natural law theorists rely upon in their ethics? So that's from chapter 6, and that's the first question in section A2. There are a whole bunch of questions in this section. Again, you have to answer 10 overall from part A. But you can't skip the first section. You have to go questions from both section A1 and section A2. Okay, here's some more of the questions from section A2. A couple questions on egoism. There is a question on utilitarianism. 3 questions on utilitarianism. 2 more questions about utilitarianism. And then we move to Kant. There's 2 questions here about Kant from chapter 11. A couple more questions on Kant from chapter 11, or Kantian ethics. And then a couple questions from chapter 12, also on Kantian ethics. So that's the end of part A. I would suggest going through reading all 21 questions and choosing the 10 that you feel most comfortable with. Part B, essay topics, also worth 10 points. I'm asking you to write a short essay. By short, I mean 375 to 500 words. That's about 1.5 pages to 2 pages, double-spaced. And you're going to respond to one of the following prompts. Your essay should contain an introduction, body paragraph, or more than one body paragraph, and a conclusion. It should also contain page references for either direct quotations or paraphrases in direct quotes. Okay, let's look at the topics. The first one is very straightforward. You can choose a question from part A that you skipped and write a short essay response. If you don't want to do that, then the other option is a little more complicated. So prompt 2, choose one of the Julian Baggini thought experiments from the handout. Okay, the handout is something that you can download in the assignments folder along with the exam. You can also download this PowerPoint presentation and look at it at your own speed or pace. And you'll be able to download or click the link to this video, all in the same assignments folder on D2L. So Julian Baggini is a philosopher. He wrote this book, a lot of different thought experiments. I thought I'd give 4 of them to you, and then you can choose which one you want to write about. So you're going to write a short essay in which you defend your response to the thought experiment. And in defending your response to the thought experiment, you need to think about answering the following questions, right? And the fundamental question is, are you a Kantian or a utilitarian, and why? So what reasons speak in favor of one theory over the other? What would a Kantian say in response to the thought experiment? Explain the Kantian reasoning. What would a utilitarian say? Explain what the utilitarian would, how the utilitarian would argue in response to this thought experiment. And then your task is to explain which analysis of the thought experiment makes the most sense or more sense to you and why. And then what conclusions do you draw? Once you've given your analysis of the thought experiment and answered this question, are you a Kantian, are you utilitarian, why? What conclusion would you draw from that? Okay, so let's look at the thought experiments. That's at the end of this PowerPoint. They look like this. Again, you can download this on your computer, print it out. It's a scanned Xerox from Begini's book. One of the thought experiments is called Hearts and Heads, the freeloader, the scapegoat, no one gets hurt. So read these on your own, choose which one you find more interesting, and write about it. I've given you some guidance here. Once you've read the thought experiments on your own, if you've chosen this essay prompt, here are some questions to help you think about each thought experiment. First, the hearts and heads. So once you've read it, who is the better person from a moral point of view? The one who shelters Jews from the Nazis out of compassion and sympathy for human suffering, or the one who acts out of a sense of duty? What role does the motive play in our moral evaluation of persons? Okay, so those are questions to think about if you're writing about that thought experiment. I give you some other questions on the freeloader example, the scapegoat, and no one gets hurt. You can work through those yourself. But again, the basic question for the essay, if you choose this prompt, is, are you a Kantian or a utilitarian? Okay, right here. This is the basic question. What reasons speak in favor of one theory over the other? And what conclusion would you draw from your analysis? Okay, so those are the two parts. Part A, 10 short answer questions. Part B, a short essay. Once you're done, okay, so that's the end of the PowerPoint production. I'm going to go now to, hello again. I'm going to go to our D2L page so you can see how to submit it when you're done. So you go to Assessment and click the Assignments menu here, and I'll go to the full page here. So this is the essay folder in Assignments that I've already asked you to submit your first essay into. The midterm folder should be right below it. Let me go to Student View so you can see what it'll look like for you. So here's the essay folder where you can submit. The exam folder hasn't opened yet. It'll open on Tuesday the 24th at 9 a.m. and then you could submit it directly in there. Going back to my view, okay, here's what it will look like, more or less. Once it opens on Tuesday at 9 a.m., there's instructions that you can read. And then here, there will be all of the attachments that you can download. So here is the midterm, the Begini handout, the PowerPoint production or presentation. And then I will add a link to this video that you're watching right now, so you can watch that over and over and over again. Okay. Hope that is clear. If you have any questions, you can email me. Here are the announcements in our D2L page. You can read those. But for now, let's just focus on the midterm. If you have any questions, just email me, and I will be sending more videos explaining what we're doing in this course now that we're online. Okay, thank you. Bye.